The story begins by introducing Chris, a former professional tennis player, who has moved to London and taken up a new career as a tennis instructor. With his background as a professional athlete, Chris is well aware that he has stepped down from the heights of fame and success. However, he seems content with his new life, or at least that's what he tells himself. While teaching tennis one day, Chris meets a man named Tom, who eventually becomes his best friend. The two men bond quickly, discovering they have a lot in common, from their tastes in music and art to their general outlook on life. They spend increasing amounts of time together, and their friendship becomes stronger. As they grow closer, Tom invites Chris to join his family at the opera, and Chris agrees, seeing it as an opportunity to experience a new side of life. At the opera, Chris meets Tom's family, including his sister, Chloe. Throughout the evening, Chloe is seen glancing at Chris, her subtle expressions making it clear that she is interested in him. As time goes by, Chris and Chloe grow closer, and soon they begin dating. However, at this stage, their relationship remains fairly innocent. There's a budding romance, but no deeper physical connection between them yet. During one of his visits to Tom's home, Chris sees a woman playing table tennis. Her striking appearance immediately catches his eye. With her blonde hair and elegant demeanor, Chris finds her irresistible. As Tom introduces her, Chris learns that this woman is Nola, Tom's fiancée. Though Tom is clearly in love with her, he also confides in Chris that his family doesn't approve of the relationship. Tom's mother, in particular, disapproves of Nola because she doesn't fit into their world of wealth and privilege. Despite the growing connection between Chris and Chloe, he can't stop thinking about Nola. Her beauty and mystery captivate him, and though he tries to hide it, the attraction is undeniable. Chris continues to pursue his relationship with Chloe, and things become more serious between them. Chloe's parents, particularly her father, take a liking to Chris and begin discussing his future with the family, even suggesting that he could join Chloe's father's business. Chloe, thrilled by the prospect of Chris becoming a permanent part of her life, sees this as a step toward their future together. However, Chris's thoughts keep drifting back to Nola. One evening, Tom invites Chris and Chloe to attend a show with him and Nola, but Chloe refuses, citing her busy schedule. Chris, desperate for another chance to see Nola, persuades Chloe to attend anyway. But when they arrive, Tom informs them that he's fallen ill and won't be able to join. This news visibly disappoints Chris, as his hopes of spending time with Nola are dashed. Not long after, Chris unexpectedly runs into Nola alone in the city. She is on her way to an audition, trying to make a career for herself as an actress. Seizing the opportunity, Chris offers to accompany her, and they spend time together, further deepening their connection. After the audition, they sit at a cafe, sharing an intimate conversation. Nola opens up to Chris, revealing how much she struggles with the fact that Tom's family doesn't accept her. In contrast, Chris is warmly embraced by Chloe's family, which makes Nola feel even more isolated. As they talk, Chris finds himself gazing at Nola with admiration, realizing that his feelings for her are growing stronger. Over time, the tension between Chris and Nola becomes palpable. At a family gathering at Tom's house, Tom's mother makes a subtle yet hurtful remark about Nola's failed acting audition. The comment stings Nola, who is already insecure about her place in Tom's life. She leaves the gathering abruptly, walking out into the rain. Chris, noticing her distress, follows her without hesitation. He catches up to her, and despite the rain pouring down around them, they share a passionate kiss. Though Nola is initially cautious, knowing this could lead to serious complications, Chris insists on pursuing their physical attraction. This marks the beginning of an illicit affair between the two, hidden from both Tom and Chloe. As their affair continues, Nola starts to pull back, sensing the dangers of continuing this relationship. She tells Chris that they must end things, as both of them are on the path to marrying into the same family, Nola with Tom and Chris with Chloe. This reality makes their relationship not only morally wrong, but practically impossible. Reluctantly, Nola decides to break things off, leaving Chris torn between his desire for her and his commitment to Chloe. During a party at Tom's family home, Tom's parents discuss Chris and Chloe's upcoming wedding plans, expressing their excitement at having Chris officially join the family. Although Chris goes through the motions of happiness, underneath it all, he remains fixated on Nola. Whenever he sees her, his mind drifts into a whirlwind of jealousy and desire. However, he keeps his feelings hidden, maintaining his facade as the dutiful fiancé to Chloe. Eventually, Chris and Chloe get married, and Chloe's family provides them with a luxurious home as a wedding gift. Everything seems perfect on the surface, but Chris is still haunted by his unresolved feelings for Nola. One day, while playing tennis with Tom, Tom confesses that he and Nola have broken up. He explains that his mother's disapproval was the main reason for their split. She wanted Tom to marry someone from England, someone who fit into their world better. Hearing this news reignites Chris's longing for Nola, and he begins searching for her, only to discover that she has moved away, leaving no trace of her whereabouts. At a family event, Chris unexpectedly sees Nola again. Pretending to make a phone call, he discreetly approaches her. They exchange a few words before Chloe arrives, but Chris manages to convince Nola to give him her phone number. Though hesitant at first, Nola eventually gives in. Later, Chris lies to Chloe, saying he has work to do, but instead, he goes to Nola's house, where their affair reignites. The following day, Chloe expresses her desire to have a child with Chris, even inviting him to be intimate before work. However, Chris declines, using the excuse of being late for work. In reality, he prefers to go to Nola's house and continue their affair. His obsession with Nola grows, leading him to neglect his responsibilities. Nola's neighbors begin to notice the inappropriate nature of their relationship. During another meeting, Nola expresses her desire for their relationship to become more serious, beyond just lust. At the same time, Chris and Chloe's family discuss upcoming holiday plans. One day, Nola calls Chris, unable to hide her impatience, wanting to see him. Chris lies to his family, saying he has work in town, and meets Nola. During their meeting, Nola unexpectedly reveals she is pregnant with his child. Chris is shocked and overwhelmed by the complicated situation, feeling pressure from his job, marriage, and affair. He considers confessing to Chloe, but ultimately avoids the conversation, unwilling to face the consequences. Chris meets Nola again, but by this time, Nola is angry and jealous of Chloe, frustrated that Chris has not taken responsibility for her pregnancy. One day, while with his family, Nola calls Chris, demanding they resolve the issue immediately. Chris lies again, claiming he is abroad, but Nola sees him in London, leading to a confrontation on the street. Chris takes Nola in a taxi to her house, where they argue again. Nola demands he take responsibility and confess to Chloe. The next day, Chris begins to devise a dark plan. He takes a shotgun and bullets from his father-in-law's shed, hiding them in his tennis bag. His wife remains unaware of his intentions. Chris calls Nola, telling her he has good news and rushes to her house after work. However, before going to Nola's, he first visits her elderly neighbor. After a brief conversation, Chris takes advantage of her distraction, attacks her, and steals her valuables, including a ring, before fleeing. After leaving the old lady's apartment, Chris hides by the door and waits for Nola. When she arrives, Chris attacks her as well, leaving the scene in a panic. The police soon begin investigating, assuming the incident was part of a robbery. Chris's family receives the news of Nola's death, leaving them shocked. Amid the tragedy, Chloe announces that she is pregnant with Chris's child, bringing a sense of joy to the family. Chris is later called in for questioning by detectives, but before his interview, he disposes of all the stolen items, including the old lady's ring. During the interview, Chris remains calm and avoids suspicion. However, that night, he is haunted by a nightmare where Nola and the old lady confront him, warning him that his punishment is inevitable. He awakens, realizing it was just a dream. Although one detective suspects Chris's involvement, his colleague dismisses it, believing the evidence points to a robbery, especially since the old lady's ring was found by someone else. With that, the case appears closed. Chris and Chloe's child is eventually born, bringing happiness to the family. However, Chris remains tormented by his guilt, knowing that his dark secrets will forever haunt him. The film concludes with Chris gazing out of the window, burdened by the weight of his sins. End the movie. Thank you for watching this recapping. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. I always love hearing from you, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.